Hey team.
Hey.
Welcome to the RH10 Fitness News. We have seats.
We do have seats, probably because we're going to talk for a little bit longer than normal, although we tend to make every video quite long.
Yeah, unnecessarily so. This is the details, the email that you've seen, and this is not copied out in the email. So if you want to dig into the whys of we're changing from comp train to CrossFit affiliate program, you need to kind of sit through this and kind of take this journey with us, this conversation we're about to have.
Yeah.
The headline news is...
we're changing programming, or we're going to try to change programming. We are going to try changing programming.
No, we're definitely changing.
Yeah.
We're going to try it out for a while.
Yes.
We're going to swap from comp train to CrossFit affiliate programming. So the first question is probably...
Why?
Yeah, for sure, right? And I think if you went back through the open results for our gym, as we've done, had a little Scooby through, the thing that we as a gym as a whole are missing, on average, is our ability to do really heavy things and really hard things. I think we've got quite a lot of conditioning.
We do. We've got a lot of skill.
Yeah, a lot of skill. Gymnastics looks really good. Pretty great upside down as a gym, actually. It turns out wall walk's not a drama for us.
100%, yeah. But that ability to do something really, really heavy is just not favourable for us.
No. It's the same for me. As an individual, it's the same for the gym as a whole. And I think the first thing you think is, but we're doing all these like heavy things into sweaty things in comp train, all these two-parters, like, won't I get stronger? Maybe. Will you get stronger fast enough to kind of deal with the imbalance that I think we've got as a gym?
Probably not.
I'd argue not, right? And I think there's a tendency initially to go, well, I got this fit doing these things 3 days a week, so I'll just do it 5 days a week and get fitter, right? I'll just do more of the same thing and I'll get fitter.
It doesn't always work like that, unfortunately.
It doesn't quite work like that, right? There is a balance. You got as fit as you got by working as hard as you did. So going as hard as you went in each workout that you did, right? That hardness is intensity. By measuring the time it takes you to do a set amount of work, or the amount of work that you do in a set amount of time, you get this intensity result, right? And intensity, the ability to do things heavier, quicker, is the independent variable that is most closely associated with favourable adaptations to exercise, i.e. the harder you can work out, not just try harder, but by resting longer between training sessions and sets, and by bringing more intensity to those working pieces, the more adaptation, i.e. the more fitness we can develop.
Yes.
Therefore, to do more of what you're doing may well be a fool's errand. You in fact maybe need to do less of what you're doing, but when you do it,
do it harder.
Do it harder, right?
Yeah.
Comp train's been doing this two-part thing for a little while now. And I think that for me personally as a coach, and I'm pretty sure I can speak for the others when I say this, sometimes there's more for me to coach in a workout than I can do you guys a decent service with.
100%, and I would feel the same as well. It's a little bit too much to probably fit into an hour, and what I mean by that is it's not necessarily too much in terms of moving parts. Like we can happily get you doing the things, doing some squats and then doing a WOD and stuff like that. But going back to what you just said about maximizing that intensity, us saying you've got 10 minutes to try and lift this heavy 5 or do this 5 rep thing or this 3 rep thing, like that is not the pillar that we need to be able to get stronger. It is simply not enough time for us to be able to hit high enough percentages for across enough sets to be able to maximize us getting strong. Makes sense? You might have been in classes recently where I've talked about, like, you got this heavy free thing to do, and okay, that's great, like if you're trying to figure out these numbers, but if you're someone that knows what these numbers are, then you're probably better off actually getting 5 or 6 sets of something which is 90-80% of that and just doing heavy sets across the board. But it's not enough time to be able to do those sort of things, right?
And if we want to see that increased work capacity across a variety of variables, whether that is time, load, movement pattern, we need to bring some intensity to those variables rather than doing 2 things less intensely than we can do 1.
Yeah.
A program fails at the parameters of what it exposes you to, the edges, right? And I don't think we do one thing that's short and hard enough, frequently enough, and that is the parameters of our program at the moment, and we need to do something about that in order to make you fitter. I also think that any cycle, well, I know that any cycle, by its very nature, will bias some things out of the programming.
Yeah.
If you're going to do one thing on repeat, you're going to miss something else, right? And actually the goal of CrossFit is to do all of these things so that there is no gap, there is no hole. We are the most roll-rounded we can possibly be. And I think we're starting to get to that point with CompTrain now where that hole is becoming pretty visible across the entire gym, which means we're no longer making you as fit as we can. We're not doing what we said we'd do, we're doing you a disservice. Pretty much when all of you joined, I said I'd make you as fit as I could, and I'm no longer doing that. So we need to take action.
Yes,
What's
I think
the action?
the action is that we are going to transition to CrossFit Affiliate Program, or CAP for short. They've been doing this for a while now. Maybe
Coming up to a year.
Coming up to a year, but recently they have made it way more accessible for CrossFit gyms to make use of. The
first thing
programming.
they've done is include it in our affiliation fee, so it means that we could look at it for the last month. We spent the last couple of weeks flicking through all of the month of May's programming and going, okay, this is what we're getting ourselves into. Yeah. Previously, we had to pay for that privilege, and we were already using CompTrain, so it felt like pointing gym money at two things doing the same thing was not super efficient. So didn't explore it for that reason.
Yeah. What can you expect going ahead, or going, let's say, in the next few weeks in terms of the programming, what the classes look like? And to be honest, it's probably not too much from like your viewpoint. Like you might see a little bit less like written on a whiteboard. There's probably going to be less two-parters and things like that. You're still going to get the same, hopefully fantastic service that you get every time you come into the gym, right? You're still going to get your warm-up, your demo, your skills, drills and strength work. You're still going to get the time to do the WOD, but it's just going to be a slightly more streamlined way of having things on the board, I guess.
Some of the things you might notice the difference of is that we get more time to play with more variables, more options, more ways of doing a different movement, right? So instead of giving myself a 8-minute window to play with handstand push-ups like I had this morning, I might in fact get 15 minutes of dedicated, let's get you upside down time. I know we get that with gymnastics, but sometimes it's nice to play with that and then put it into a conditioning piece, right? Yeah.
You'll find that a lot of the things that we've done over the last couple of years have been streamlined in a way to make it accessible and easy for us to coach in a class. Like, let's take the handstand progressions for us. Like, we've all done them, we all know them, like, because it is a really simple way for us to do these things, because it's usually followed after doing a two-parter and we're kind of short on time, right? If we do have that 15 minutes, then we can play around with cooler and different variations, like getting the boxes out more and doing pike handstand push-ups and stuff like that, some dedicated strength training to get you better at doing the upside down things. Makes sense?
As an example, right. The other thing you might notice is the appearance of this thing known as a heavy day in the world of CrossFit.
Yes. A heavy day is something that CrossFit has promoted since day one, since its founding days. That is that in the programming, a heavy day is your strength day. You come into the gym and that is what you do. It might be 5x5 on back squat. It might be build a heavy one rep max deadlift. You know, there's an endless world of strength movements that we have.
You're looking at about 30 heavy reps across a heavy day, roughly 20 to 30. There's a bit of a variable there. Sometimes it will be several sets of 3, might be some heavy singles, could be looking at any movement that probably involves a barbell.
Yes.
Because we're going to get super strong, and the barbell we know we can make super heavy. It might also take the form occasionally of sneaking into a workout where it's, I don't know, 5 rounds of 2 enormous power cleans or squat cleans or deadlifts, 30 double unders and 5 pull-ups, and there's a 20-minute cap on it because that barbell is going to be so cripplingly heavy that we're doing it as singles, right? Yeah. It might sneak into a workout sometimes. Other days, as Rob said, it'll appear on its own. You're going to walk in, workout of the day, 7 sets of 3 power clean for max load and shapes. Just get really strong, and you're going to take 3 minutes between sets. We're going to really slow things down. You can try really hard
to lift that really heavy thing.
And then sit down for a while, right?
Yeah.
For those of you that are a little bit new to this getting strong thing, we might flex our coaching brains a little bit and give you some more reps, right? Because we all know that part of getting strong is having the reliable shapes to make you stronger. Yeah. And we know that reliable shapes come from a lot of practice. So you might walk in and it says 7 sets of 2. We might make it 7 sets of 5, right? Because the thing might not be hard because it's heavy for you, so the shapes are hard to find. So let's give you more opportunity to find the shapes, right? And that lets us do our job again and flex a little bit into allowing people to develop where they need to develop, right?
Yeah. A few of you might have done plenty of strength training in the past, and if you do something like a 5x5 back squat and do it really hard, it's probably one of the most crippling workouts you've ever done.
It's an hour.
Yeah, it's probably an hour of work with all the rest periods and stuff like that. But because of those rest periods and that ability to do it really hard, you can hit those high enough percentages, those high enough weights that you are going to get strong. And that's part of the problem in comp train currently, is if we have that 10-minute window to, I don't know, build up to a heavy set of 5, we're not doing enough work at that heavy thing. Simple as.
Comp train have always said they're a conditioning bias program, like they admit it themselves, and the logic is if I'm going to see you 3 times a week in here, potentially making you metabolically, conditioning-wise, fit. If you think about that pyramid, for those of you know that I'm talking about, metabolic conditioning is at the bottom, right? That may have more benefit than being strong. But I think as a gym now, we're seeing a trend where we've maybe gone too far. And actually we need to go back to what we do best, which is CrossFit, constantly very functional movement, high intensity. Yeah. Varying that stimulus every single time you come in the gym. And therefore we're going to make the swap.
Yeah. The CAP programming is still going to be on SugarWOD, streamlined so it goes straight across. You'll be able to see everything that you need to know prior to going to class, or just don't look and turn up. That's probably my favourite way of doing things. There's also a lot of tool bits as well, which is nice in terms of optional extras and stuff like that. There's extra strength work, there's lifting tracks, there's skill accessory pieces. Like, this is going to open up a whole world of like things that you can go, hey, I'm not very good at this one thing. I'm going to go do the skill track for a bit, or I want to get even stronger, so I'm going to go do a little bit more of the strength track. It gives you more things, which is nice.
And we'll probably look at leaking those in through separate tracks on SugarWOD. So currently when you click a drop down on Tuesday, you get gymnastics. You might suddenly find there's some other bits in there. Again, designed to fit in that 15 minutes between classes if you need, or if you want a little bit more. The other thing you might see some more of is some big monostructural pieces. For example, on Wednesday or Tuesday this week, just gone, we did a big run, row, run workout in here. Cool. The CAP programming on one of those 2 days was run 5 kilometers. All right, cool. Let's not hide ourselves from these things. Like, sometimes something pretty obtuse is going to appear on SugarWOD and we're going to rock up and get it done anyway, right?
Yeah.
We're going to steer away a little bit from doing things that you want to do to encourage you to do things you need to do, i.e. sneaking a row in between 2 runs to make you run more, and just write the big run on the board and let you do the big run. Because, again, we don't want to get caught out by dodging things. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm sure some of you might have questions. Come find us.
Yeah, it might be easier to chat to us in person. You can reply to this email, but if this is going to be a 2-way conversation, you might find it more palatable to do in person.
Yeah.
The plan is, unless CrossFit drop the ball on this some way, unless programming is not being published or there is some kind of practical disaster with how this rolls out, maybe they keep programming things that don't work in our space and we can't get out of it, and it feels unlikely, but unless there is a logistical reason not to do this, then the plan is to run this all the way to the open and see how we roll. So that gives us a good 9 months to get our teeth into it, see how it goes, see how it plays out before we review and decide if we need to go in a different direction. But I don't think it's fair to chop and change programs on a monthly, 6-weekly, 8-weekly, 3-monthly basis. I think you've got to let these things play out for long enough to see how you go. So the plan is to go till the open as a very minimum, and Rob and I'll have a chat from there. You're probably completely unaware of this. We've been looking around CompTrain for a while. Yeah, there's definitely been stages in the year where we haven't been super duper happy with it. We've looked at plenty of other things. We've demoed other things like behind closed doors and stuff like that. And it's all led back to the same thing, which is probably that it's just too much to try and do in an hour. We need more intensity, not more things. More intensity, not more things. We need to do less things, but better. And we need to prioritize what we do best, which is coaching, right? And if we can coach really well, then you are going to improve. Pressure's on us then, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. Team, as Rob said, come and grab us if you want to chat. Would love to chew through this in more detail for those of you who want to. For those of you that feel like you've got enough from the video, thank you. There'll be plenty of people that didn't watch the video and didn't care because they're going to turn up and do their fitness anyway, and that's super cool. Yeah. Team, catch you in the gym soon. Thanks so much. Toodles. Toodles.